you want to start by just introducing yourself. Hi, I'm Dr. Smith. I'm your neurologist today. And you can get a lot of information, like I said, just from having a conversation with the patient. So usually I ask the patient, tell me what you're here for, and make sure that I have the right patient. By the way, I didn't say this to last group, pass this along. Make sure you check name band. Make sure you ask them, hi, are you Mr. So-and-so? I can't tell you how many times it's wrong. You're in the wrong room. They move the patient on you, things like that. So I always say, are you Lindsay? Is that right? Okay, just paying attention. And then I ask what you're here for. And usually patients know, and they'll say something like, I have headaches, or I'm a little weak, or something like that, but sometimes they don't. And if they don't, you have to rely on information you've gotten either with the encounter, or you can start kind of just asking them some questions. Well, are you here because you're weak? Are you here because you have sensory loss? Are you here because you have headaches? Is your family worried about something? We're going to demonstrate how to do the mini mental status exam, which is this nice, easy, quick and dirty test here for mental status. And if I'm concerned because the patient doesn't know why they're here, or they seem to be having memory problems, or the family member tells them memory problems, you can jump into this relatively early in the visit, get a little bit of history about when it started and things like that, but then you want to do some more kind of formal testing, okay? It's really straightforward, but sometimes it's hard to know exactly how you ask the question, so that's why we're going to go through it. And once you do it a couple times, you can pretty much memorize it. All right, ready? Tell me what year it is.
2013.
Good. Oh, and I usually preface it by saying I'm going to ask you some silly questions. Bear with me. I'm testing your memory and how your thinking is going. Usually people are pretty receptive to that. What season is it?
Technically spring.
Good. I would have taken spring or summer. Right? What's the date today?
May 23rd. Is it the 23rd?
Today's the 24th. That's what I was told by the last class, so we might all be off.
It's 24.
You were close. I'll give it to you. What day of the week is it?
Wednesday.
Good. And how about what month?
May.
Good. Where are you right now?
I'm in PD lab.
Okay, so that's a nice specific answer. A lot of times patients will say, I'm at the hospital, I'm in the clinic. You want to get a little bit more from them. Do you know which hospital you're at? Do you know what clinic you're at? And then it does say on here, hospital, for one of the points for this one. What state are we in?
Ohio.
What county?
Delaware. Wait, is this okay, Franklin? Sorry, I live in Delaware.
What town?
Columbus.
And what floor are we on? Good. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 words. And I want you to remember these words. And I'm going to ask you them again in about 5 minutes. Okay? So I'm going to say the 3 words, and then I want you to repeat them back to me. Car, apple, green.
Car, apple, green.
Good. One more time. Car, apple, green.
Car, apple, green.
Perfect. Try to remember those. I'm going to try to distract you. I would like you to count backwards now, starting at 100 and subtracting by 7.
Oh gosh.
They give you the answers on the sheet, so you're at the advantage compared to the patient.
93.
Good. No, I think this one's the hardest one.
Sorry.
Yeah, mathematician.
86.
Good.
79.
Hmm?
73. 22.
Yep, you got one more.
Oh my gosh. 65.
Good.
I did not help her.
It's hard to think when you have all these people staring
Sorry,
at you.
yeah, I'm wondering if you're good. It's okay. So if she had gotten one wrong somewhere in there, you would just stop wherever she stopped. And then if she doesn't get all 5, you usually go to 5. If she can't get all 5, then I would always do the world afterwards, just to see if it's just like a math and a number thing, or if it's actually an attention problem. So can you spell the word world for me?
W-O-R-L-D.
Can you spell it backwards?
D-L.
Oh boy.
It's hard.
R-O-W.
Good. Okay. Do you remember those 3 words that I gave you?
Apple, green, car.
Good. So it doesn't have to be in order. She just has to remember them. The hardest part about doing tests like this is not to coax them, you know, come on, you know it, or it's a type of transportation. So especially with the ones with like the trail making, it's hard not to be like, what comes after B? What comes after C? So that's part of like what the practice is for this, is just getting used to asking the questions without giving anything away. Objects, this part called. Good. What's this here? Good. Sometimes they'll ask things like, what are these? Shoes. Good. And what's this part called? You. Commonly watch. What's the face called? Things like that. So object meaning is the next one. And then can you repeat after me? No ifs, ands, or buts.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Good. Notice she does the S's. If they don't do the S's, they don't get the points. Okay. If they seem to have a hard time with that, you can try doing another one. But you can't count it technically. Like, this has been validated, so you have to use no ifs, ands, or buts, unfortunately. I want you to take this piece of paper in your right hand, fold it in half, and put it on the floor. Perfect. So half doesn't have to be just this way. It can be half the other way too, but just it has to be in half. And try not to hand it to the person in the, like at the hand. Like if I was sitting right in front of her, it would be pretty easy to be like, I want you to take this with your right hand, right? So try to be neutral about how you pass it. Next, you would have, usually the back of this paper is blank, and so I use that as the part to write on and stuff, and I'll write on it in pen. So it gives you a sentence to write. And you give it to the patient and you say, read this and do what it says.
Close your eyes. I have to say it all up.
You don't, but that's okay. It counts if you do. And then typically on the same piece of paper, I will ask the patient to write a sentence underneath. Close your eyes. Give me any sentence. You can do anything. Mm-hmm. You open your eyes. So it has to have like a noun and a verb. It has to have like a subject and a. And you'll get all kinds of things. You'll get like, you know, people write, I love my grandchildren, which is really cute. Other people will just write their name.
Did they ever say stop talking?
No.
Good. That would be neat.
No, I haven't gotten that yet. Yeah.
Don't ask any questions.
Yeah, no, sometimes I get like, this test stinks.
Oh.
But it counts, right? It's a full sentence. And then the bottom one here, they have the two intertwining pentagons, and they want you, I think the pentagons are these. And then they want you to draw them. I try to copy them again on the back of the paper, because if you use the same page, then you can like put a sticker on it and scan it into the patient's chart. And then the next time you use it, and once I'm done with this, I'll sometimes have them do the clock as well on that. So then I have that in the chart, and I can pull it up for next time. But can you just copy that image right next to it there? What you're looking for is that it has the right number of sides. It doesn't matter what size it is. You're looking for the right number of sides and that they're correct, they're interlacing in the right spot. Okay. And that's it. And then you score it. So online, when you look up the MMSE, there's actually like a thing on how to score, and it tells you specifically like you get no points if you don't say exactly ifs, ands, or ifs, ands, or buts, and things like that. But then in the back here, the way I interpret this or the way I use it is, so I'll always put in the chart what the MMSE score was, and I write like mini mental status exam, 22 out of 30. You got a 30 out of 30, so you're totally normal. And you can tell everyone gets greater than like 24 is your abnormal single cutoff. So you give everyone like some wiggle room in terms of like the age and things like that. And even remembering, you could actually do everything perfectly and just not remember any of the words and you'd still be okay. But if you look here, there's moderate and severe. So at mild, I would definitely be retesting them again, like at 3 or 6 month time spans. At moderate or severe, I'm sending them for formal neuropsych testing. So those are patients where I want to know what domain is a problem. And because I'm worried about actual Alzheimer's versus like frontotemporal dementia versus some sort of frontal lobe syndrome. And I'm also, if I'm picking this up, I might be doing things, neuropsych testing in Columbus takes a really long time to get into. So I'm doing things like MRI of the brain to make sure they don't have a big honking frontal lobe tumor, and that's what's causing their memory stuff. Checking things like vitamin B12 and thiamine and all the other stuff that can cause memory problems, HIV, syphilis testing, all that. So we usually do all that stuff kind of to lead up to neuropsych testing because it takes a while to get in there, and then once neuropsych testing comes back, you can kind of pinpoint a little bit more, like this looks more like a visual spatial problem, which would be seen in something like Alzheimer's. It's a memory and visual spatial, or it's more impulse control, executive functioning, all that frontal lobe domains. Does that make sense?
So what if they're severe and they look by themselves? Is there any, do we take part of any of that to say maybe you shouldn't be by yourself? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so some of it, it's a complicated question in terms of, are they with someone else? You know, like, so checking out what their support system is like, just because they score low doesn't mean that they necessarily can't live alone if they have the support to live alone. Like they have someone who's there 24 hours a day, or they've got family who lives at home with them, or comes in during the day and then at night they hire someone. Technically they live alone, but they've got 24-hour supervision. So those are the kinds of things that I would be like, if I see a severe on this, then I'm thinking about like, what is your safety like at home? And you ask those questions, like, can you cook for yourself? Can you go to the bathroom by yourself? Can you get dressed by yourself? You ask those ADLs and those IADLs, because that's really what determines how independent someone is and how unsafe they are. And then it becomes an issue of having a conversation with the family. Like, I think we're at a point where this is showing me how severe this memory loss is, and I think it's a good idea to start thinking about placement somewhere else, or thinking about moving closer to your family member, moving them in with you. It's hard to say, like, you shouldn't live alone, right? But I think that's definitely a point where you would start gauging what their home life is like. So, here, one, and here, one. The rule of thumb here is if you can see the fingers, they can see the fingers, okay? I try not to go, like, this is just a basic screening test, so I don't really care about far peripheral vision. I don't necessarily care about, like, the posterior vision as it comes around. I really just want to know, is there a quadrant here that's not impaired? Is it hemianopsy on one side? So it's pretty quick and dirty. Again, I get in trouble a lot for doing the two eyes together because your brain can actually shut down the one that's chronically not seeing as well. So the way you would test it with one eye is you close the eye you're going to cover, and then you ask, how many fingers? Look straight at my nose. No, nose. Ready? Two. Cheating. And then you crisscross to do this side. Does that make sense? And then you do the same with the other side. It's a little more awkward, it's a little more uncomfortable, so that's why I don't do it as much. But it's not the right way to do it. Some people will do just finger wiggling. So, you know, have them look here, and do you see my fingers wiggling on one side? Which side? You can even have them point if they're like having a hard time with right and left, or they're getting confused. And then you do double, because you want to see whether or not they extinguish one side. So one of the symptoms of neglect, especially in the stroke patients, is that they will actually have visual neglect where they won't see one side with double stimulation. And that's true in sensory, and we'll talk about that next week when we do the NIH stuff. Okay. And then you want to do extraocular muscles. So this is testing your 3, 4, and 6 all together. And you ask the patient, follow my finger with just your eyes. And you make them go all the way over and then up. And this is about how fast you want to go to be able to make sure that you're watching them bury both their eyes. So as you can see, she doesn't have any whites of her eyes left next to on the side where she's looking. That's normal. That's where you can miss like a little 6 where there's a little bit of white there, is if you're going too fast, because they're gonna, like, once you switch, they're not gonna go all the way over. They're gonna start swinging back with you. Does that make sense? That's it for eyes. It's that easy. I see if patients can accommodate, so follow my finger in. And when patients accommodate, their pupils will actually constrict and their eyes will move inwards. And the reason that's important is that there's something called an Addy's pupil, which is light near dissociation, which means they won't react to light, but they will react when they're accommodating. So that's, I want to say Addy's is the one that like neurosyphilis is known for causing. Okay.
That's Argyle, right?
Argyle.
But Addie's is, there's another light near besides Argyle. Is that Addie's?
I think so.
Okay. I can't remember.
Maybe not. That's what I was thinking of, Argyle Robinson. See all these names. You should call it light near dissociation. That's what Alpha calls it.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
they just call it light near dissociation.
Eponyms are great for challenge polls.
Right. Right? Great for Jeopardy. All right, and then I do sensation. So I just do light touch to start, and then if something's abnormal, I will go back with a sharp. So then it's as simple as, do you feel this on both sides here? And do you feel it on both sides here? And here. And it's equal on both sides. And then if she were to tell me that, say, the top part she doesn't feel, or the whole side of her face she doesn't feel, so a lot of times you're kind of like conversion disorder functional patients will say, like, I can't feel this whole side of my face, or this whole side of my body. You break the stick in half. My problem with the stick is that I usually dull it out as I'm testing, so I use a safety pin, but I have been told that safety pins can draw blood. I've only done it once, but you're not supposed to be poking hard enough to draw blood. And you'll test across. Do you feel that sharp everywhere? And then patients will tell you, like, no, it splits right in the middle. As your nerves are crossing your body, and we'll do this next week with sensory too, they should crisscross like this. No one's nerves go straight down the middle. So it's suspicious if they're splitting in the middle. There's only one thing that can actually do that, which is a thalamic stroke. If they're a young patient who doesn't have any stroke risk factors, the chances of that are really low. Not zero, but they're really low. So one of the tests you can do to try to figure out if they're just having a little bit of psychosomatic or conversion disorder symptoms is taking a reflex hammer, but making it vibrate and putting it on the frontal bone, and then asking them whether or not they feel it more on one side or the other, or where they feel it. Because the frontal bone's one bone, and you should feel it equally on both sides. So if they tell you that it's diminished on just the left, then you know that that's a little bit of psychosomatic. Tuning fork, yeah, what I said. Reflex hammer? I meant tuning fork. You don't want to hit him in the forehead with a hammer. That's bad for.
That's for you guys. That's for me to use on you.
Your Press-Ganey scores will go down by a lot if you do that. All right, and then from facial sensation, I go to facial expression. So can you smile real big for me? And hold air in your cheeks. Good. And raise your eyebrows real high. And close your eyes really, really tight. And see, again, she buries her eyelashes, which she closes real tight. So I don't have to worry about it. But if she weren't, can you close real tight again? Don't let me open them. You want to do that. And try to pull apart her eyes. The myasthenics will have a hard time with that really tight closure. And then hearing is as simple as this. You hear that on that side. Sometimes if people can't hear finger rub, you can get louder until you're snapping. But usually, if they can hear snap, they can hear voice, so I just count it only intact to voice if I'm testing finger rub. I'll say like diminished to finger rub, but intact to voice. Okay. And then, can you stick your tongue out for me? Wait, hold on. Stick your tongue straight out. And then say, ah, ah. Good, and you can see her palate rise equally. And that pretty much will test it to 12 and 9 and 10 for you. So those are out of the way. And then shoulder shrug, and you're going to apply to macerator last. So shrug your shoulders up for me. And you want to feel how strong that is. Turn your head to the left, and then turn into my hand. Good. Same thing on this side. Turn into my hand. Good. That's 11. Okay? So you want to start with finger to nose, and how I do that is I tell them, take your pointer finger, because it's confusing to just say take your finger. People are like, you get all kinds of stuff like the middle finger up in the air. So take your pointer finger and touch your nose for me, then come out here and touch my finger. Keep going back and forth, fast as you can. And now I'm going to move it. Keep going. So when they're on their nose is when you want to move it. It's unfair when they're coming out towards you for you to be moving around. That's like nobody's going to get you on that one. Same thing with the other hand. Ooh. That's where your nose, remember you want to be going, full extension because you want to see if there's an end tremor, or you want to really give them the chance to show that ataxia that they might have. And then you're going to do finger tapping, so big and fast with your right hand. Good. And how about the other side? Big and fast. Someone brought up something really good last session, which was that everyone's a little bit slower on your non-dominant hand. That's normal. So don't worry about your non-dominant being a little bit slower. That doesn't mean you have Parkinson's, okay? And again, you're looking for not only slow in patients with pathology, but you're looking for it to decrement and get lower and lower and lower in terms of amplitude, and also to have halting and restarting, okay? We would do the same thing if her feet were on the ground, these tables are kind of high, where we have them foot tap, like that. We have them foot tap like this. And then we do the alternating hands, so put one hand out, take your other hand and do it like this, and then like that, and keep going back and forth. Good. Same thing on the other side. Good. You can also do that on their lap, so you don't have to do the hand. I think it's just a little bit more, depending on how they're sitting, it's sometimes a little more comfortable and easier to do it like this. And that's pretty much it for the seated cerebellar exam. Questions about that? No, it's awkward when people watch you, right? Stand there. Not in terms of coordination, but one of the things that's easy to test or helpful to test when someone is walking is actually whether or not they can walk on their toes or walk on their heels, because it's a measure of how much strength you have in your legs. So if you can't get a good strength test because the patient's not cooperative or they're a little bit confused or they're demented, they can't follow, if you ask them to walk on their toes, kids are the best for this. If you ask them to walk on their toes or walk like a penguin on their heels, you can get a lot of information about the strength of their legs. So can you just walk towards the chairs on your toes for me? Good, and now turn around and come back on your heels. Sounds harder to do, right? And then last but not least, you do tandem gait. So you have them walk like they're walking a line. And you want them to touch. Yep, good. Perfect. And then the Romberg is kind of the last thing you do while they're standing. So I want you to stand right here for me. Put your feet together. So I always position myself behind the patient once they're standing there with their feet together. They face that way. There you go. Feet together, touching. Arms open and up like you're holding a big box of pizza, and close your eyes for me. That's the Romberg. She has intact proprioception vestibular system and cerebellar function.
We're wondering.
Pronator drift is cerebellar versus strength.
I have always learned ciliary muscle, right, which is a parasympathetic branch of your third nerve. Okay, so if your pupil is dilated, then you have to be concerned that it's not able to constrict, and that would be a third nerve problem. So you check the eye to make sure it's not like down and out, or that it has good motion, because that's also partially free, right? If you're shining the light in the eye and it doesn't constrict, but the one next to it does, then you want to be concerned that the one that doesn't constrict, that third nerve is impaired, or that parasympathetic branch at least is impaired, okay? If that's impaired, that should be true even with consensual light, meaning that when you put the light in the good eye, that you still shouldn't get constriction, okay? Because that third nerve to that eye is a problem. Your eyes can only constrict if the second cranial nerve is actually transmitting the signal from the back of the eye back to all the rest of the visual system, right? So if you shine a light in the eye and it doesn't constrict, and the one next to it doesn't constrict either, then you have to be concerned that the signal's not getting through, and that's a second cranial nerve problem, not a 3. And the way you can know that that's truly a 2 is that when you shine it in the other eye and that one constricts, so does the one you shine the direct light in, right? Because that would be the 3 working, and it's really the 2 that's not working there. So that's called an afferent pupillary defect, meaning that the afferent signal going out to the back of the brain is not working in that eye. So it's not a pupil constriction problem for 3, but it may look like it when you're just looking at that eye with direct light. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why you want to check with light in that eye what the other eye does, and then you want to put it in the good eye and see what both of them do as well.
That makes sense.
Okay? Is that clear?
Yeah.